Set up his book right now.
It's already there? Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Purudikacharya Astotar to Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Purudikacharya Astotar to Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktabinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Now before I begin, I just want to let you know, I work as an editor on these books. And the translation and the first part of a couple of sentences of this purport have been revised. And then we're going to hopefully get in the next printing. So when it comes time, don't put it on the ground. Yeah, you can. That's it. So I'm just going to read the new part of the translation, and we can go from there when the time comes. On this 31st day of March 2021 in SanDiego, reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter number 9, called the, what is it called? You gave me the wrong book. What does it say? The most confidential knowledge, right? And we're on text 32 at the bottom of page 420. No, you have a different page number. I have to take this book at it. What's the page number there? 440? 441 at the bottom of page 414 at the bottom of page 414. 414. Mami pata vipavishya. All right, let me try that again. Mam hi parta vyapashvitya yepi syu papayonayaha striyo vaishyas tatha shudras tepi yanti param gatim mam hi parta vyapashvitya yepi syu papayonayaha striyo vaishyas tatha shudras tepi yanti param gatim mam hi parta vyapashvitya yepi syu papayonayaha striyo vaishyas tatha shudras tepi yanti param gatim. Prakash. Mam hi parta vyapashvitya yepi syu papayonayaha striyo vaishyas tatha shudras tepi yanti param gatim. Jessica. Mam hi parta vyapashvitya yepi syu papayonayaha striyo vaishyas tatha shudras tepi yanti param gatim. Did you want to try it by any chance? You don't have to. It's okay. Okay, I'll read the word by words. Mam, of me, he, certainly, parta, O son of Prita, vyapashvitya, particularly taking shelter, yea, those who, api also syu are, papayonayaha, born of a lower family, striyaha, women, vaishya, mercantile people, tata, also shudra, lower class men, te api, even they, yanti, go, param, to the supreme, gatim, destination. Thanks for turning it on. I forgot. Okay, translation. Not in your books. Translation. O son of Prita, those who take shelter in me, though they be low-born, women, vaishyas, merchants, or shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. Purport. It is clearly declared here by the Supreme Lord that in devotional service there is no distinction between the lower and higher classes of people. In the material conception of life there are such divisions, but for a person engaged in transcendental devotional service to the Lord there are not. Whatever qualities one may have that are due to taking birth in a high or low family, or being a woman or mercantile man, or belonging to a lower class, are forgotten. Everyone is eligible for the supreme destination. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, picking up in the book, in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.18, it is stated that even the lowest, who are called chandalas, dog-eaters, can be purified by association with the pure devotee. Therefore, devotional service and the guidance of a pure devotee are so strong that there is no discrimination between the lower and higher classes of men. Anyone can take to it. The most simple man taking shelter of the pure devotee can be purified by proper guidance. According to the different modes of material nature, Men are classified in the mode of goodness, Brahmins, the mode of passion, Kshatriyas or administrators, the mixed modes of passion and ignorance, Vaishyas or merchants, and the mode of ignorance, Shudras or workers. Those lower than them are called Chandalas, and they are born in sinful families. Generally, the association of those born in sinful families is not accepted by the higher classes. But the process of devotional service is so strong that the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord can enable people of all the lower classes to attain the highest perfection of life. This is possible only when one takes shelter of Krishna. As indicated here by the word Vyapashritya, one has to take shelter completely of Krishna. Then one can become much greater than the great jnanis and yogis. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Shri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So Krishna here, now in this new translation you see that there are four classes, separate classes: the lowborn, the women, the Vaishyas, or merchants, and the manual workers. And anyone in the Vedic culture, these are in a different socio-economic strata, But the whole point of this section of the Bhagavad Gita, as Krishna has been giving in the last few verses, is that no one is barred. No one is barred from the process of devotional service. And the process of devotional service, or bhakti yoga, is the process of perfecting human life. The understanding of the science of bhakti begins way back in chapter 2. Krishna explained that the living entity is separate from the body. We're not the body. We all have different bodies, and we all identify with these bodies, mostly, the gender, age, place of birth, language, rich, poor, healthy, unhealthy. These qualities all pertain to the body. But we're not the body. We're the consciousness within the body. And that conscious element, called the Atma, or the soul, never is born and never dies. Now, just let that sink in a minute. We're never born and we never die. That means that we have occupied other bodies, previous bodies, and we'll have future bodies. That whole reincarnation, transmigration of the soul thing, that's the science. You see? And even in this one body, we can understand we've had many different bodies. We've had many different forms. We've all been 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. Each of those are different from our present body. We have even different mind. Mind is also part of the body called the subtle body. All of that is constantly changing, and we are the conscious being who's aware of those changes. And in our bewildered state, in the state of ignorance, we identify with that changing body as us. But it's not us. And it's no more us than the clothes we're wearing. The clothes we're wearing may reflect our taste, and it's formed to our. I have these two shirt arms because I have real arms, right? But at a certain point, I'll take this shirt off. It'll wear out, throw it away. Similarly, Krishna says, at a certain point, the body wears out. We throw it away, or it's taken from us, and we move on to another body. In the morning class, we have a morning class too every morning, beginning at 7:50 every morning, on a different book called the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we're just getting through an exhaustive explanation of how the living entity within the body, the human body here, determines the destiny through what we do and how we affect our mind. The mind is the key. So much of the mind, as we discover when we're sleeping, things come out, we have dreams. We may, there's so much to the mind that we don't access, right? Subconscious, we know that. So that mind, we're doing things every day to put things into our mind, create desires. Or, like the advertisers, they want to plant desires in your mind, right? So that when you get hungry and you want to have something to eat, you'll buy what they're selling you. You may even forget the advertisement and say, yeah, I'm hungry, I'm going to go to this restaurant, I'm going to go here, whatever. So the mind is the repository of all these desires. And when we, according to the science of bhakti, and not just bhakti, but Vedic science, is that the state of our mind, the most prominent thought, when we finally leave this body, that's going to determine our next form. Hare Krishna, welcome. Take a book, or you can sit there if you like, yeah. We're on page, I can't say the page. I'm taking this book home with me. This is the one volume that has different page numbers. I know because we printed it as very small margins, that's why the page, it's not going to be in the room anymore. So the page number is again 414. And we're actually on 415 now, I think. So the idea is that we have a certain amount of time in the human form of life left, right? And the science of bhakti is formulating or reforming, purifying really our consciousness, so that we are drawing it away from matter and putting it on spirit. That's really what it's sublimating. You know the word sublimate? It's a nice word. Sublimating our desires, sublimating our consciousness. We are by nature enjoying beings, not just human beings. Living entity is looking for happiness. Even the little ant, you know, if one of them finds a little spill, a honey spill somewhere in the kitchen, whoa! It's like, you know, it's like hitting a uranium mine or something, you know. I don't know how they do it, but somehow he runs back to the nest, you know, and before you know it, you have a whole line. Have you ever been in the kitchen like that? And they get intoxicated. There's a science to it. From, you know, eating the honey, and they're going back, and it's like a festival for them, you know. But of course, it's a very dangerous life, you know. There's these huge creatures. They don't even know what's coming out. And any moment they can be stepped on, you know, and it can be a disaster. And that's what material life is. These bodies are nothing but very complicated machines. Think about it. It's even a verse in the Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter where Krishna says, Ishwarak savabhutanam vidyesher janatishtati brahmayan savabhutani yantra rudani mayaya. The word yantra means a machine. Now Krishna there, he's saying that I, the Ishvara, the Supreme God, I'm dwelling in everyone's heart as a super soul. And that individual soul is riding on the body, which is like a machine made of the material energy. What is that material energy? We live with it all the time. The solid matter, gases, liquids, radiant energy like electricity and fire, space, and then the subtle ones that we live, mind, intelligence, and ego. These are all material energies that compose this material world. Anywhere you look, you find those things. The Greeks knew about that. They had that same list in their philosophy. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, like that. So when you contemplate I used to work in a hospital way back in the early 70s. And I remember I would take a break, and they had a little library in there, you know, where they would get all kinds of periodicals and some books. And there was the Kidney Weekly or monthly. You know, the doctors are specializing in that, and so many new discoveries about the heart. Of course, there was several magazines about that. And so many, they're constantly discovering new things, creating new drugs. There's a lot of medical knowledge. And what it is, it's, you know, they're like just now we have this COVID thing, you know. And of course, the vaccines are coming out now. But I don't know if you know, these are a new kind of vaccines that they created. And very quickly, they work with the DNA and whatever, you know, RNA. So there's a tremendous amount of knowledge, and it's all about the workings of this incredibly complex machine called the human body, and how they can adjust this so that to regain your health and so forth. But the whole world is made up of amazing things like that, right? All the different species of life and everything is. Does it really make sense to think that there's not an intelligence behind all of that? That someone didn't design it? It's so wonderfully designed, just the human body and the whole thing, you know? And the Vedic culture, the Bhagavad Gita says, no, there is an intelligence, the supreme intelligence behind all of it. And Krishna says, Maya jakshena prakati, in this very chapter, Maya jakshena prakati suyate sacharacharam. Prakriti means nature. Nature is going on, it seems to be working automatically, you know, but it's being overseen by that supreme intelligence of the Supreme Lord. And so each of us has a relationship that we've forgotten with that supreme consciousness. And that's what bhakti is all about, reawakening it. And the underlying substance of that relationship is love, is divine love. And we know how in this world, what really makes things meaningful is loving relationships. And how you live a little while in this world, and you realize they break sometimes. Sometimes, I remember the first time I was a kid, I forget how old, 12 years old, when my grandmother died. She was the first person who I ever knew and liked and had a relationship with who died. And it was like, wow, this is like a shock. But that's what it means to be in this world. As you get older, the people you treasure, sometimes they may be younger than you, children die. It's like that. And you yourself you're facing that same fate, And what's going to happen to all those relationships, all those things I thought were important in it? Krishna says, as death I take it all away. Mrityu sarva harascha. But what isn't taken away is our real life. Nobody dies. I have this little poem I wrote. Everybody dies. Nobody dies. Every body dies. Nobody dies. Wake up and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. Did you read that one in there? So there is a science of bhakti by which we can live a life on this realization, on the spiritual platform, and reawaken our natural, eternal, and long-lost relationship with Krishna. Krishna is God, but he's much more than that. God simply means the supreme controller, creator, But Krishna means all attractive. All attractive. And there's even an analysis of the kinds of ways that anyone is attractive. Aishrayasya samagrasya viryasya yashasakriya. Tremendous wealth. That's attractive. If you have $1 billion, your calendar is always full. A lot of people want to see you, right? They may want to get something from you, but you're attractive. You attract a lot of attention and. So you can imagine how attractive Krishna is. He owns everything. Viryasa, strength, power, strength. What do they have in the Olympics? I remember when I was a kid, and there was he's famous, Jesse Owens. Does anything ring about? In the 1932 or 36 Olympics, I think, before World War II. So the power, the strength, the grace, this is attractive. So Krishna, he showed so much extraordinary strength, Yashasakshriya, and fame, and of course beauty, physical beauty. And also, there's this kind of renunciation, but really it's vairagya. Being so full and self-satisfied that you don't need anything. That's another attraction. Someone to be so wealthy. Krishna's like that also. But he's attracted by bhakti. He's attracted by that. When we do something in the mood of devotion, that's why a few verses back we had how it's open to everyone. Pattam pusham palam toyam. That if you just with some bhakti you offer a fruit, a flower, anything. If you saturate it with a little love and attention and devotion, then it's accepted. And you make advancement toward reawakening that loving relation with Krishna. So this is what he's saying here, is that anyone who takes shelter of me, how to take shelter, that'll come in 2 verses hence. Think of me. Manmana. Bhavamad Bhakto. Become my devotee. Worship me. Bow down to me. Recognize authority. And what's the best way of thinking of Krishna? No secret. We're not selling the mantra. It's free. This mantra is called the Maha Mantra, the great mantra. Mantra is composed of these 2 words, the word mantra, man and tra. Man means mind and tra means to deliver. Deliver the mind from ignorance. A mantra, what you chant. And there are many mantras. And this mantra is composed entirely of the names of God. And in the Upanishads, it's spoken of. It says, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashakam Nam Kali Kalmasha Nashanam Natak Padataropaya Sava Vedeshu Drishyate. It mentions Kali Yuga there. The different ages, they flow just like seasons. There's a cycle of 4 seasons. Satya Yuga, where things are much more peaceful and natural, people live much longer, they're in the mode of goodness, peace reigns, Then things degrade a little bit, the Treta Yuga, and in the Satya Yuga people meditate, in the Treta Yuga they perform vast sacrifices, to appease the gods and like that. In the Dwapara Yuga, deity worship, which hopefully we'll be able to see. You've seen the deities? But they're, very, very elaborate, huge temples everywhere, real diamonds, real jewels everywhere, And here in the Kali Yuga, when we don't live very long, we're misguided, we're not very astute, we're actually the most fortunate. We have the easiest way. Just chant Hare Krishna. No prerequisites, begin chanting. Now, to really progress on the path, there are all kinds of ways that you can, do's and don'ts, that help you to perfect it. But the main thing is think of Krishna and worship him and also associate with devotees. That's a very important principle. So Krishna is giving a chance here for everyone. And these last few verses he's going to explain, especially in text 34, which I think we should move on to. So this is an important verse. You heard the different editing. Were you here at the beginning? Okay, just look at the translation. I'm going to read the new translation. O son of Prita, those who take shelter in me, though they be low-born, women, merchants, or workers, can attain the supreme destination. You see the difference there? Yeah. Okay, any questions on this important verse? We can go on. Okay, text 33. Kimpuna brahmana punya bhakta raja shayastata anityam sukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. How much more this is so? What's so? That they can come to me. They can attain the supreme destination if they take shelter of me. How much more this is so if of the righteous Brahmins, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. So he's advising Arjuna. Purport. In this material world, there are classifications of people. But after all, this world is not a happy place for anyone. It is clearly stated here, anityam asukham lokam. This world is temporary and full of miseries, not habitable for any sane gentleman. This world is declared by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be temporary and full of miseries. Some philosophers, especially Mayavadi philosophers, they're impersonalists, say that this world is false. But we can understand from the Bhagavad Gita that the world is not false, it is temporary. There is a difference between temporary and false. This world is temporary, but there is another world which is eternal. This world is miserable, but the other world is eternal and blissful. Arjuna was born in a saintly royal family. To him also the Lord says, take to my devotional service and come quickly back to Godhead, back home. No one should remain in this temporary world, full as it is with miseries. Everyone should attach himself to the bosom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that he can be eternally happy. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men or people, probably using that word, can be solved. Everyone should therefore take to Krishna consciousness and make his life perfect. So the idea is that just being in this world is a disadvantage. We don't know that there's another world, so we think, well, this is all there is, we've got to make the best use of it. But no, this world facilitates our exit from it if we know how to use it. If we know how to employ the things that we have, including our own mind, intelligence, and everything, in the service of the Lord. That means in yoga. Yoga is a word that means linking. And to link our consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness is the whole purpose of human life, and it solves all the problems. This idea that this world is temporary and miserable, that comes up in the 8th chapter we read last chapter, Mami part what is it? Mamu petu punarjanma dukaliya mashashvatam. The word dukaliya means an abode of difficulties and miseries, and ashashvatam means temporary. In the 5th chapter, a revolutionary verse, where Krishna says, Yehi sangsparjaja boga dukayona evate adyantabanta konteya nateshu ramate buddha. Buddha means the intelligent, those who are intelligent. What does he say there? He says the pleasures that come from the contact of the senses with the sense objects, and those include the subtle sense of the mind, those senses are the sources of trouble, of misery. And they're temporary. Everyone knows. They come and they go. Therefore, the wise do not take pleasure there. Because the wise know that there's another platform of enjoyment which is not a source of misery and which goes on forever. And so in the previous verse, he says the devotees or the yogis, bhakti yogis, bayasparsheshu asaktatma, vindit yatmadiyat sukham, that word sukham came up in this verse. Sab brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnate. Sukham is happiness, akshaya means unbreakable, ashnate means enjoy. So the intelligent, the wise who can practice in yoga, bhakti yoga, they eschew these external fleeting sense pleasures. And they contact the source of ever-increasing pleasure within, the reservoir of pleasure, which is Krishna. Krishna is anandamaya bhyasat. Ananda means spiritual pleasure, and maya means made of. In other words, he's overflowing with this ananda. And we're part and parcel of Krishna, so that's our natural situation. But we don't have that now. You know, we have intermittent little happiness and sometimes a lot of misery. This whole COVID pandemic, which has affected everyone in the world, even if they're not sick, it's threatening and it's kind of impinging, you know, and a lot of anxiety, as you all know. So where did that come from? No one expected that, you know. And suddenly you're going along, and remember a year ago, and you know, people were getting sick. They're still getting sick, you know. Suddenly you're in the hospital, you can't breathe. The most distressing kind of situation. What happened? My life was going along normally, you know, and suddenly this happens. That's what the nature of the material world. Vast material disaster, wars, you know, take over. That's the nature. And if nothing else happens, you just get older, and eventually, time takes, you know, the body's a machine, wears down, horrible things happen. And again, you start over again. So the wise, if nothing else, they aspire to get free from the round of birth and death. Birth, old age, disease, and death. This is the samsara chakra. You know, I remember when I first, you know, starting to search, you know, way back in the 60s. I'm reading all kinds of books, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. You know, the Buddhists know that. They want to break free of samsara and get to nirvana. No more birth, no more death, you know. But that's a negative view, you know. What are you going to be free for? Liberation means liberation from something. Okay, good. Get free of birth, old age, disease, and death. That's in the Bhagavad Gita. But then what? What do I do? Do I just go into the eternal sensory deprivation chamber? The perfect temperature, floating along, I am that I am. How can you be happy like that? I've never been in one of those, but I've talked to people, you know. After maybe a half hour, let me out of here, you know. It's a negative pleasure, you know. Okay, great, I'm not, you know, feeling any pain. But that's not really life. By nature, we have these senses, right? We have activity. We have loves that we want to engage in. We're limited in this life, you know, in this form, obviously. But that's a sign that that's part of our eternal life. And in Krishna's pastimes, as you study, this is the wonderful thing. We have this Bhagavad Gita, which is like the ABCs, really. Then we have the graduate study of Srimad Bhagavatam and the postgraduate study of Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Purana, in the 10th canto, Krishna's Leela are delineated, in summary, really. And the most delightful are the ones in Vrindavan, you know, where he's playing. Wouldn't you love to have a job where you're working, but it's just play all day? That's Krishna's job as a cowherd. It's a serious business. They got thousands of cows to take care of. You know, it's a farming village. So he goes out with his friends, and they're taking care of the cows. The cows are also playing with him, you know. And while they're herding, they're playing all kinds of games, and you know they're cavorting together, singing, dancing. He's playing the flute, and the cows are munching on grass over there. You know, that's a daily affair, and it's so much, you know, it's so much adventure. Now, when he's doing it on earth, the demons, they don't like God, so he tried to kill them. They're great yogis. They're shapeshifters, you know. So they come as a big snake, or as a beautiful woman who like poison on the breast, try to suck a little baby Krishna and kills her. You know, there's a series of demons. So there's that adventure also. But the point is that it's a wonderful attraction. There's a tremendous attraction there in Krishna's pastimes and His holy name. And the more we get attracted to that, and we want to enter into that and live that, you know, that's what this whole thing is about. We have this temple here. We can't see Krishna in his spiritual form. It's too subtle. You know, we can see matter. So he appears through matter, like through stone, you know, but he's not a wood or metal, so that we can see him and serve him. And that's what the deity is all about. That's what the temple is all about. It provides an environment. You walk in here, it's not like some warehouse or something. It used to be, before they turned it into a temple. But all of this, it took devotees a whole year, you know, to make these little carvings, and then there's the paintings, you know. But it evokes remembrance of Krishna, a spiritual. Even this form, this is a classic, you know, form, and that it uplifts the mind. You know, architecture is very important. You know, I remember I once took a trip to India. It was a cheap flight. It was only like $800, you know, but you had to go through Romania. And Romania has this city in Bucharest. So we landed in Bucharest, and they just got free, you know, the Soviet Union, it was the early 90s, they just had broken up. So that, you know, the whole empire was breaking up, you know the history. But they'd had a tremendous influence there over the years, and that includes the architecture. And so I walked down the street, and it's like these imposing buildings. They look like radiators, you know. It's like they're really oppressive, you know. And it has an effect on your consciousness. Everything does, you know. And so, similarly, spiritual architecture is meant to uplift the spirit and remind you of God. Just like, you know, you have a church, and then you have the cross at the top, and, you know, it uplifts you. So everything in this temple is meant for reminding you of Krishna and your relationship with Krishna. We're going to have the artik soon. And we have the dancing and the singing and the chanting of the holy name and seeing the beautiful deities, you know, the blessings, you know, Radharani, mudra. There's a mudra. It's like we have mudras. There's a mudra, you know. Or like someone's in the back of the temple. Just they come as an observer, you know. I'm not going to chant. I'm going to look, you know, I'm looking, you know, even unconsciously, you know, this is a mudra. My mother knows it's mudra, you know. So this is a mudra too. Radharani mudra. Abhayadan, the gift of fearlessness in this world. You take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. So he's inviting us now in this latter part of this very important chapter. And so he's encouraged, you know, how much more this is so of the Brahmins that they should take shelter. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. That's the whole idea. But just for Mam. That's the idea of work. Now the next verse is very important. We'll read this now. We may do it again at the beginning next week when we have our next class. But this verse is repeated in the 18th chapter. And it's a formula for, you know, the most confidential knowledge. Manmana bhavaman bhakto marjaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktaivam Atmanam matparayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Sometimes unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Unfortunately, unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the reader to that which is not at all feasible. Such commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is the absolute truth. His body, his mind, and he himself are one and absolute. It is stated in the Kurma Purana, as it is quoted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami in his Anubhashya comments on the Chaitanya Charitamrita 5th chapter, Adi Lila, verses 41 to 48. Deha dehi vibedo yam neshware vidyate kvachit. This means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. But because the commentators do not know this science of Krishna, they hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or from his body. Although this is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna, some men make profit out of misleading people. There are some who are demonic. They also think of Krishna, but enviously, just like King Kamsa, Krishna's uncle. He was also thinking of Krishna always, but he thought of Krishna as his enemy. He was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna would come to kill him. That kind of thinking will not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional love. That is bhakti. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continuously. What is that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from a bona fide teacher. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, but is eternal, blissful knowledge. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. Understanding Krishna otherwise from the wrong source will prove fruitless. One should therefore engage his mind in the eternal form, the primal form of Krishna. With conviction in his heart that Krishna is the Supreme, he should engage himself in worship. There are hundreds of thousands of temples in India for the worship of Krishna, and devotional service is practiced there. When such practice is made, one has to offer obeisances to Krishna. One should lower his head before the deity and engage his mind, his body, his activities, everything. That will make one fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer to Krishna Loka. That means the planet of Krishna. One should not be deviated by unscrupulous commentators. One must engage in the 9 different processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting about Krishna. Pure devotional service is the highest achievement of human society. The 7th and 8th chapters of the Bhagavad Gita have explained pure devotional service to the Lord that is free from speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and fruitive activities. Those who are not purely sanctified may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like the impersonal Brahma Jyoti and localized Paramatma. But a pure devotee directly takes to the service of the Supreme Lord. Now, does everyone's book read like that? I think we made a correction there. The 7th and 8th chapters? Is that what it says? The 7th and 8th chapters? I think we fixed that to include this. I think we fixed that to include the 9th chapter. We're just finishing the 9th chapter. Anyway. There is a beautiful poem about Krishna in which it is clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve at any time the supreme award of Krishna. The devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall from the standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. One who always engages in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be a perfectly saintly person. His accidental non-devotional activities will diminish, and he will soon be situated, without any doubt, in complete perfection. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down, because the Supreme Godhead personally takes care of his pure devotees. Therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to the process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in this material world. He will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the most confidential knowledge. So one thing about Srila Prabhupada's books that you'll find unique is not like an academic study of the Bhagavad Gita, which you'll find plenty of. His faith, and more than faith, his certainty of the reality of what he's speaking about here and what Krishna is saying is palpable in the book. In other words, he's speaking from personal experience. And that's like a stunning thing to contemplate. Is that because a lot of this is like, how can we know it's true? That there is a Krishna Loka. Or even in the chapter 2, where it says the soul is amazing. For people, they can't see it, can't weigh it. How do we know it's there? Maybe that consciousness is just a result of something that happens in the brain, and then boom, you wake up, you know. And then the brain gives out, and the body gives out, and you're all finished. That's it. A lot of philosophers believe that. So there is a line of coming down called the parampara of the cyclic succession. Like Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, wasn't also completely realized soul. And his father, and his spiritual master was as well, and his father was a really towering intellect who revived this bhakti that had been kind of become lost in the 19th century, this line of bhakti. And he worked so hard to revive it and, you know, bring it forth again. But the idea is that there are these realized souls who have realized the reality of Krishna, who have experienced Krishna, who have seen Krishna with the spiritual eye, you know, with vision and revelations, and written their realizations down. And so we have all this testimony, but we have to make that connection of having enough faith to at least try the process, you know, and begin the chanting. And the chanting is so powerful that if you really take part and you basically focus your mind and you hear, something changes. You have some revelation. There's a experience that takes place. And it can draw you further into investigating, and especially if you read the books. So we're getting, you know, Srila Prabhupada has just finished the 9th chapter. Now, that first part of the purport, there's a whole historical event behind it. And that is that it was actually the president of India, Dr. Radhakrishnan. He wrote a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. I have that on my shelf. You can buy it for like $3 on Amazon. He wrote a Bhagavad Gita. And there's a division in India since, you know, the time of Shankaracharyas, basically, between those who say that the ultimate reality is impersonal. There is an ultimate reality, Brahman, pure spirit, but that Brahman has no varieties. There's nothing going on there. And all of the variety we see here, it's Maya. It's illusory. It's unreal. You know, it's just a dream. So we want to disentangle ourselves from this world of all of this change, and just merge our consciousness into Brahman, impersonal Brahman. Brahma Jyoti means the white light, you know, that light behind everything. So there's a whole school of thought like that, called Mayavad philosophy. Mayavad means they say everything is Maya, illusion. Counterposed to that is the Bhakti school. Not just the Gaudiya Bhakti, but there's also Ramakrishna, the Ramanujacharya line, and the different lines. But they're adamant about the fact, no, there's a whole world, there's a spiritual world that is really our destination. The Brahma Jyoti is just the effulgence of that bright light of that world, but there are places and things all of a spiritual nature. So the impersonalist commentary written by this Dr. Radhakrishnan contains in his commentary on this verse, he says, when Krishna says Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Manimam, it's not to Krishna the person that we have to bow down and worship and think of, but it's the impersonal spirit behind Krishna, within Krishna. And that's what Prabhupada was referring to. There's no difference. Krishna is solid spirit. We're not. We're Dehi Deya. We have our body is not us. That's the whole point of what we started with. That the body is just a covering on the soul. It's always changing, and the soul remains unchanged. But for Krishna, that's not true. That eternal form, that all attractive adolescent form, playing the flute and dancing, you know, doing all the things he does, that's eternal, never changes, and it's not different from Krishna himself. So it's not to anything within Krishna. There's nothing within Krishna. He's solid spirit, but it's Krishna, the person himself. That personality is the part that, you know, freaks out the those who are averse to surrender. So that's what Prabhupada is referring to here, and it's an ongoing struggle, and the bhaktas, you'll find there are so many cases where the impersonalists, they get converted, you know, Lord Chaitanya, you know, and then they realize, oh, Krishna realization and bhakti is full of so much joy, so much ananda that you can't find in impersonalism. But where is the bhakta who's really experiencing the ananda and says, all right, I've had enough of that, now let me go to Mayavad. No one ever goes down that way. It's just, they come from Krishna Loka and all the beauty and the ecstasy down to Brahmananda. Doesn't happen. Any more than choosing to go to birth, death, old age, and disease. So, anyway, I'll leave a couple of minutes if there's any questions. Otherwise, we have time for a poem or two. I'll give you a couple.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribol?
Well, I have a question that. Thank you for nice much, Prabhu. It's very inspiring. So I have a question that sometimes Mayavadis they argue that Krishna also left a body during his pastime. So they argue that Krishna's body is material because he left a body.
Yeah, that's described in the literature. If you read in the 11th canto, that's dealt with. That it was just to bewilder the atheists. I mean, what kind of material body does he have? He's like 120 years old. He's on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, right? He's got great-grandchildren, all these great-children, and he looks like he's 20 years old. You're talking about that's a material body? It's all just a trick that he pulled. It's to bewilder the atheists. It's not anything that we have to worry about. It's like that precisely to misguide those who want to not disbelieve. But it's not. There's nothing material about Krishna's body. And he explains, I spoke this knowledge 120 million years ago to the sun god. And Arjuna is saying, how's that possible? We're the same age, and that's like 120 million years ago. So yeah, many births we both had. I remember them all, and you don't. Arjuna is an eternal, companion of Krishna, because Krishna doesn't change his body. He can remember, Veda Hamsa Matitani. I know this. I'll end with this. Just contemplate, Krishna. I know everything that happened in the past, everything that's happening now, and everything that's happened in the future. Doesn't that boggle your mind? I mean, we can hardly remember what we did last week. A few high points, from your childhood. But everything that everyone is doing, they know. And as a super soul, he's guiding us, giving us our blessed forgetfulness. I describe, we forgot the things happened in our past life. Would you rather remember getting old and sick and dying 100 times, 1,000 times? We'd have the most massive case of PTSD you can imagine. So that forgetfulness is a blessing for us. But Krishna doesn't forget anything. He knows everything. Anyway, I wouldn't worry about it. So we've used up our time. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.